calorie. Tap, tap, cola. What a beautiful drink. Tap, tap, cola. For beautiful people. Tap, tap, cola. It's beautiful to be tasting so darn good and sugar-free.
KALB TV5, Alexandria, Louisiana.
Stay tuned for an outstanding entertainment program, The Best of Carson.
The word starts to lose its credibility, but in this case, it fits well. Alda is many things. He's a fine actor. He's written a number of the MASH scripts. He also has directed, and he has written and is starring in a new film called The Seduction of Joe Tynan, which he wrote. Would you welcome Alda? Yeah. Underdress. Yeah. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of MASH.
Oh, thank you.
You have done things just as wild.
Oh, yes.
On your show.
And we don't get the chance to hear the audience almost laugh like that. That's
Yeah. Almost, yeah. You,
No, it was
yeah, you miss that sometimes working on the. That's
well,
what
you know what we
talk
do is
about
we have
on the
such a
show.
good time, we laugh ourselves a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Not always what we're doing. We're just sort of always in a state of mild hysteria because
Yeah.
everybody just gets just happy all the time.
You know, enough. MASH, I think, is one, I hate to say the best because other people are friends of mine,
Somebody else
but it
will
is
come on.
one of the best written shows on the air. I think along with All in the Family when it was on regularly, and Barney Miller, Mary Tyler Moore Show, Maude,
Yeah.
because you run that line between great comedy and at the same time you do some very touching moments in the show, and,
Yeah.
to walk that tightrope sometimes between, as you well know, between drama and comedy, and to shift gears is not an easy thing to do.
It's very hard to do, but
Yeah.
but it keeps us interested, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it keeps the audience interested because it's we get into feelings and as well. We take the sense of humor with us, you know. We go
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
kind of deep things, but we keep a sense of humor about it as we go.
That's tough, but you have to be. How many years now for?
This is
for
the 8th year.
And you've been nominated, the whole cast and everybody for Emmys again. That's sensational. Television could use a few more shows like that. And the cast you have, of course, working in almost like a repertory company.
That's right. Yeah.
Is sensational.
And yeah, it's wonderful. I really love it. I hope we can continue to think up stories because
Yeah, isn't that the problem? You got to
that's
have the words on the paper
well,
first.
we've done that's the most important part of it. And we will have done at the end of this year 200 shows.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to
Go to the well too often and dig something new out.
but I must say it looks very. I mean, so far we don't feel like we're running dry, so it feels good.
It doesn't look like it either. You still have that energy level.
Yeah.
You know, everything I read about you, and you probably even get tired of reading it yourself. I get tired of reading about myself sometime in the papers. But in your case, your image... No, I'm serious. No, you really can. Once in a while, you just say, hey, enough is enough.
Oh, sure,
and,
yeah.
You've said all that you think you can say when you give an interview.
Yeah.
You know the questions by heart. But in your case, your image is always never a taint of scandal, unlike some of us. You're giving this place a good name,
Yeah.
Alan. You got to watch that. But no, that's true. You're happily married, and there's nothing in the paper about Alan Alda did this. He blew up. He was out the other night carousing around. I mean, it's just almost too good to be true. Now, my job, as I see it on this show, is to dig out the dirt. To really get in and certainly really find something.
Yeah.
There's got to be something in your background that you're terribly ashamed of, that you want to publicly announce here, to serve as a kind of a catharsis.
Yeah.
You know, something you've done. You stole something when you were young. You took a car and went joyriding. You
I
anything
didn't
at all.
expect a question like that.
Well,
let's see. Something bad I did.
something real bad.
Yeah. No.
You see, that's the problem right there. All right, no secrets tonight, folks. We have to do this first. We're coming right back. We got a film clip from Alan's first. Good to see you.
Delta is ready when you are.
The Robo frames BJ and they're off and running. BJ and the Bear, Saturday.
If you're tired of looking for hard-to-find air conditioning filters, Walmart Air Conditioning will solve your...
We are back. Thank you, Tom. talking with Alan Alda. We have Sarah Vaughan, Arlene Galanka, and Ronnie Graham later. The movie that you just did, The Seduction of Joe Tynan, is an interesting concept because, again, it's based on real situations that I'm sure obviously happen.
Well,
in
some of the things
life.
in the picture have happened. Some come from imagination, but it's the picture opened today.
That's what I'm saying.
It just opened today.
Yeah.
I'm in a state of really high. Maybe you can't tell because I'm relaxed. I'm very professional, and I come out and
Been real cool. Sure.
act very relaxed. But I am
Inside.
I think more excited than I've ever been in my life about anything that I've done professionally because I worked for 4 years on this. I started writing it 3 years ago, and we shot it in Baltimore a year ago, and we got as of today we have so many rave reviews. I mean, it's like practically every single review is a strong rave.
It's like opening night on Broadway.
It is. And I've been on the phone a few minutes ago. They were telling me about the people lining up on the streets in New York to get into the theater. It's so exciting to me that I have these. I mean, it's fulfilling my wildest dreams about the picture, and yet I think, well, it's the first day. It might not. It might fall to pieces and only be wonderful, I mean,
Not have legs, as they say.
I mean, it's just terrific.
Are you going to do what Mel Brooks did? I went one night. I'd seen it at home. We dropped in to see when Blazing Saddles first came out. And Joanne and I went to the theater over in Westwood or somewhere. And we came out and standing in the back of the theater, behind you was Mel and Ann.
I know. I was there that night. I was laughing at the movie. And
I go back and I see Mel there. And I said, what are you doing here? He says, I like to hear the people laugh.
Oh, it's
he was
great.
sitting there watching the audience and enjoying it.
Anne Bancroft said to Mel, I was in the audience really laughing. And Anne said to Mel, later she told me, she turned to Mel and she said, well, some idiot likes it. That was me.
You got one of those laughs?
Yeah, I like to laugh. I really enjoyed it. Dad, the feeling you get. See, when I write for MASH, I don't get a chance to hear the laughter.
You don't
We
get the
said that a
feedback,
minute ago.
right?
Well, when I sit in the audience at some screenings that we've had before today, I hear them laugh. And stuff I wrote, and slaved over and worked on and rewrote and fixed and made it just what I thought was as well as I could do it. And then I hear them laugh. Then I hear later on in the picture when it starts to get very emotional, like the picture gives a kind of a strong emotional experience, I hear them opening their pocketbooks and reaching. I hear the rustle for handkerchiefs, and I hear them blowing their nose. They start to cry a little.
I've heard them during the monologue. Sometimes people go to their purse for a weapon of some kind, a small.
Well, if you hear them reach for anything, you got to be careful.
That's
sometimes.
right.
That's true. But no, I just sit in the back where they can't get me.
That's
but it's what an incredible feeling.
The story basically is the difficulty that someone in public office faces when he has a family, and the family is not living actually in Washington. True, you are separated, and the problems.
Well, they're not separated. They're sort of living in two places because his wife has had to. He's a senator, and although this is a story that really could happen to anybody, it's not really a political story. Anybody who smells success and says, "But that's within reach, and I'm going to go get that," and they sort of leave the family on the shelf for a while, sort of park them.
Yes.
But the meter keeps running, and you got to pay the bill eventually.
The dues will come somewhere.
That's right, and I think anybody. It's true of anybody. Anybody who maybe owns a taxi cab and wants to own 2 taxi cabs has got to work hard for that.
Right. You give up something.
Yeah, and the personal sacrifices you make get to be very costly, and the family eventually says, so where the hell are you?
Yeah. Where do we fit in?
Yeah, and
this scene we're going to see now.
Oh yes. Actually, it's called The Seduction of Joe Tynan, and the word seduction in the title doesn't really refer to sexual seduction.
You can be seduced by success.
This man is seduced by success, however, he does meet this wonderful, attractive woman.
You write yourself nice parts, don't you? When you're sitting in the room lonely there. Sure.
I thought about it for 3 years.
Of course.
And I thought,
write whatever you want. You can
lonely here writing by myself like this.
Write something in there.
Meryl Streep plays this, and she's
some kind of an actress.
She's dazzling. She's wonderful. And Joe Tynan's wife is played by Barbara Harris, who is equally dazzling. It's just wonderful, and they're getting extraordinary. Some of the best reviews I've ever read for both of them. They're just great. And so what happens is he begins to have. I won't tell you the whole story, but he begins to have an affair with Meryl Streep's character, who's a young lawyer. But what you see is one of their. I think it's their first tryst. Outside of a private place,
right?
When they go to like a little country club, but he he forgets how famous he is because he's a United States senator, and it doesn't occur to him that it's not going to be easy to sneak into a hotel. So here
I
they
wonder
are.
how that would be.
Yeah.
We'll take a look. Watch the monitors.
You're my favorite senator.
Oh,
You're just wonderful. Would you mind giving me your autograph for my daughter?
Yeah.
She just thinks you're wonderful. And you're wonderful, too. I've read you're a psychologist. My son's interested in that.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Nice.
Yes, may I help you, Senator?
Yes. Where's the pro shop?
Yes, out the front door and to the left, Senator.
Oh, it's out the front. It's to the left here.
Just out of curiosity, why are we going to the pro shop?
Because the guy who just waved at me in there is Senator Akers from Minnesota.
So now we're going to play golf.
Not me. I don't know how to hold a club. No, gotta go. Hello. Hi.
Hi, Senator. Can I help you?
Yes. We'd like to rent some clubs and a golf cart and balls and things.
Sure. You want to come over here?
You want to hold it down?
Trying to look like a golfer. Don't laugh like that in the golf course.
Where are we going?
I'm looking for privacy. What do we have to eat?
Another crisp. It's almost impossible to believe that something like that could happen in real life.
You mean being recognized like that?
Being recognized in public like that and being in that awkward situation.
Yeah. I guess it happens to some people.
I suppose so. Just saying, it was a wonderful cut. We're getting technical about comedy. It's like a Laurel and Hardy cut. You see the golf cart headed, but you don't see the action, but you see the result.
Yeah.
They used to do that in their movies. Remember when he got up and Stanley got up to move the big load of coal?
Yes, yeah.
And Ali says, "Why don't you move that?" And he gets up in the truck. Now, all you do is see the truck start to, it was one of those dump trucks, but you don't see the coal coming out. You just see the bed go up. There's a pause, and you walk back, and all you see is this derby sitting on top of the pile of coal. The imagination takes everything else.
You put it together in your head afterwards, yeah.
How was this been screened in Washington? Because there is truth, as you well know, whether power does have an attraction, both monetarily, financially. It has a sexual power, especially in political life. Yeah. Many people like to be around people who control other people's destinies.
It seems to be sexually exciting to some people. Power.
Yeah, the power, yeah.
Actually, there seems to be some interest about the film in Washington. I read in the paper that President Carter's son screened it for him at Camp David, and that they wanted to see it. They were interested in seeing it. And a lot of senators and congressmen's wives
wanted to see it also.
Yes, and they had some interesting comments about it. I mean, half of them seemed to say, after they were questioned as they came out, you know, which is kind of an awkward situation, you know, does this really happen and that kind of thing. And half of them said, yes, it happens, and the other half said, well, not to my family, you know, but which is an understandable answer. And then some said, one woman said a very interesting thing. She said, I don't know of... I mean, actually, it's not as though there's a lot of sex in the movie. These two people have a love relationship, you know, and although there is one other character who's a real loon about sex. I mean, that's just his...
Rip Torn plays that.
Rip Torn plays that beautifully, and he's and Melvin Douglas gives an exquisite performance as an older senator. And he's a straight guy. I don't get the impression that he would do anything untoward, you know. But Rip Torn is. Untoward.
Crazed,
Yeah,
crazed,
yeah.
crazed.
He's crazed, yeah. And like his aide says, I try to talk about his defense bill, and all he wants to do is bet me $20 that the waitress isn't wearing panties. You know? I mean, he's just obsessed with it. Well, but that's just his character. It doesn't represent Washington senators. That's just one particular man. But one woman said, "Well, I don't know. There's a lot of sex in the movie, and I don't know about anything like that going on in Washington." She said, "But of course." I don't know anybody who smokes marijuana, so I don't think that's done either. You know, it's just she's not aware of it.
If you're not privy to the situation, why would you know?
Yeah.
Right. Now, you live apart. You work out here a good portion of the year. Your home actually is back
Well, we
east
have two homes. We live here part of the year, we live there part of the year.
Yeah. Does that be a problem at all, the back and forth business?
Well, for 7 years, I did fly back and forth. Every time I had 2 days off, I flew home. During about a 4 or 5 month period. It was strenuous, but it's not as bad as it sounds.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 week I flew back 3 times, but that was
in 1 week?
Yeah, yeah. You know what it did? It gave me the impression, and it gave, I think, all of us in the family the impression that I really lived at home and I just worked here. You know. And
you're trying to keep some kind of normalcy.
Well, it's hard to, but you have to work at it. You have to really put a lot of energy into it. But for me, it was worth it. I made my life. Pleasant. I could enjoy my work and I could enjoy my home life that way. But now,
you find living out here with a family, say in the entertainment, being in the public eye, is more difficult than
Well, yeah, I think
it is a strain.
There's a strain. I don't like to complain about it because unless somebody has gone through it, they don't know that there's a strain, and it's like complaining about having money or something. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to somebody who doesn't think it's a strain.
Yeah.
But there, and you know what? It's part of the business. It's one of the things you have to cope with.
Right.
It's like picking up $20 bills. If you have a whole field covered with them, it doesn't make sense. That you don't think of. But after about 12 hours of that, your back would hurt a little. That's all. But you'd probably keep going.
Yes, but no matter, maybe one more.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe one more.
10 more. So, don't kiss me, my lips are chapped. One more chap won't hurt. You just keep going. You know?
Does the political arena intrigue you at all? The people came to you and said, "Hey, Alan, why don't you run for state senator or some office or something?"
No, I've had to do a lot of politics. You know, I've campaigned very, very heavily, very hard for the Equal Rights Amendment for about the past 6 years, and I've. Good.
Got a few supporters here.
That's encouraging.
Well, let's hear the other.
I think if you'd all move to North Carolina and vote, we'll be okay.
Just as a poll for the fun of it, this is those who apparently were for. How many are against Equal Rights Amendment? Oh, you see, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah. That's good, and that takes care of the equal time thing.
That's it.
Now we've already expressed the other point of view.
Right.
That's good. Yeah, so I've had to do a lot of politicking, and I've met with a lot of legislators and met their families. A lot of what I learned went into the seduction of Joe Tynan too. But I'm not excited by politics. It doesn't. I don't see any glamour to it. I do it only because I feel in my conscience I ought to, since I have
morally take a stand on something.
Some ability to do. I mean, once I got involved, I felt I could be effective, and so since I could be effective, I felt I ought to do it.
Right.
But it's just something that I mean, we live in a sort of a political climate. Everything everybody does affects everybody else, so you kind of have to do some.
Right.
But it's just a responsibility, you know, like taking out the garbage or something. You know, you have to do it.
And I think with being in the political arena, you have to have a very tough skin, because
I think so. Oh yeah.
You can accuse anybody of almost anything except absolute treason. You know, their personal background, including that. You know, and you're completely open for everything.
That's right. And of course, anything can be said from the floor of
isn't that interesting?
Senate.
You can say anything from the floor and be protected under the law.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can say he's a communist. You can say he's a traitor. Whatever you wish to say, and
people do, and people get very badly hurt, and they're bruised emotionally, but they have to just keep plugging along. And there's so much. You know, it's so much to me. There's a kind of a manipulation of images. And there's so little of dealing with the issues for what they mean, for what they really mean. The Equal Rights Amendment, I'm not trying to push the amendment, right? I'm just giving an example of the kind of politicking that goes on. I met a woman who was lobbying for it in Illinois, and 2 legislators said, "We don't believe in it, but if you'll come to our hotel rooms tonight, we'll vote for it." I mean,
that's a belief of sorts, isn't it? But
it's believing in something anyway. I mean, that's like saying you'll vote for emancipation in exchange for a couple of good slaves. You know,
right.
I mean, it's totally inappropriate.
Yeah, that's incredible.
The kind of and that goes on, I think, quite a bit. At least in my experience, it has. I guess there are some issues that are debated on the merits of the case.
Right.
But there's a lot of doing things because of how they'll look rather than what they really mean.
Unfortunately, we live by our emotions more than we do by our intelligence.
I guess that's true.
Unfortunately, if we lived intelligently, we'd never have a war. You'd never have any problems. But people live by their gut emotions most of the time, and sometimes the case gets lost in all the emotions.
Yeah, so that you make the case very often, I guess sometimes you make it more effectively by just appealing to people's emotions and not to their sense of decency or what's right or to their rationality. But boy, that doesn't seem like it's going to get us very far. I mean, it seems like any progress we're going to make is going to be minimal compared to the hoo-ha that goes on to get something done.
Technologically, we've done great, but we haven't come too far the other way.
That's right. That's right.
Take a break. We'll be right back.